Hey, everybody. Welcome to AWS On Air.
What's going on, guys? Sorry, you caught me in the middle of thinking like I do when I'm not on the air. Just deep thoughts all the time. Todd, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I just had some audio things here. I was actually getting ready to watch the show, and I just realized today I'm hosting this show. So I got to stop watching and start hosting. Hey, I'm doing good, Nick. I'm pumped for today's episode. You can see I've got my golf shirt on, I've got my golf clubs polished and ready to go. This is a little cue of what we're going to be talking about, Nick. What are we going to be talking about today?
Man, I have been looking forward to this one for weeks now. I got a really cool chance to travel down to Florida to meet up with our partners, the PGA Tour, a couple of weeks ago and see how they're using some of our technology live and in action. So we get to bring that to everybody today. And I think we're blasting out on multiple platforms here. I think we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're on the Twitch homepage in the US. So shout out to everybody watching from there. I think we're on the Training Live channel on Twitch, Todd. We got a lot of people to welcome in here.
We're everywhere. We're permeating the web right now. So, hey, let us know where you're listening from. Location, both like what country from, what city, maybe, what channel are you watching on? We want to talk with you throughout this whole episode. We want to answer your questions. That's the whole point of the show. We want to answer your questions and show you some of the cool tech that we've been working on here at AWS. And Nick, I think I want to, before we get into today's episode, I kind of want to make a quick confession live on air.
Okay.
So before I came to AWS, I was a software developer. I was consulting, what I called an independent consulting. And I want to admit live here for the first time, there are a few times in my career where I took a scrum from the golf course. And if all of our fellow developers who are out there who have done scrums, who have to do scrums or have done scrums in their career, you all know that. What is a scrum? It's what did you do yesterday? What are you doing now? And what blockers do you have? And, during those times in my years, what I did yesterday was scheduling a tee time. Here's what I'm doing now. I'm getting ready to tee off. My blockers are a fairway bunker and some trees on the right. Those are the only blockers I have right now. But I don't do that anymore.
No. And I can say, like, I'm ashamed of you, frankly. And I have never done any sort of work from the golf course. I'm in office every day from 9 to 5. And I would never do something like take a call from a golf cart.
Okay, I can't be the only one. Somebody in the audience has had to have taken some sort of meeting from a golf course. I want to know who are golf fans, and let's hear some golf stories about work.
I don't know. I think it's just you, Todd. We've got people from we're more all over everywhere than Johnny Cash here. It looks like we got Houston, Texas. Yeah. We've got some people from Florida. Shout out from the neck of the woods we're shooting this from. Got Poland, Austin. Jasmine says she golfs after work. So throwing you under the bus there, Todd. But point is, guys, you might be shocked to know this because of how polished our presentation is, but we are actually live. So drop those comments. Let us know the questions you have. Let us know your best score. Todd over here is a 12 handicapper, which is just, like, frankly embarrassing. That's not not good at all.
I've been chipping away at my handicap. I can't quite break the 12 mark. Just solidly stuck. I mean, most days worse than that, but on a good day, 12, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's average.
My competitive golf career ended at JV golf, and then since then it's just been casual. Just casual.
Oh, I'm with Jib Jab 06 here. Putt is more my game. So that there's that kind of golf too. But with that, everybody, Todd, I think without further ado, why don't we get rolling here and roll this first guest out, and we can get talking about golf for real.
Let's do it.
What's going on, everybody? I'm here at the PGA Tour Studios down in Florida to show you guys how AWS and the Tour are partnering to power innovation in world golf. I'm joined by my friend Trey here. Trey, what do you do for the PGA Tour?
Hi, my name is Trey Pizzetti. I'm an AI product manager here at the PGA Tour. One of those innovations that AWS has helped us with is our new studios building. Let's go check it out.
Awesome, let's see it. So why don't we start from the beginning here? When did AWS and the Tour partner, and what made that partnership make sense from y'all's perspective?
Yeah, the partnership started in 2020, long before I joined the tour, but we really wanted to revamp our technology from all the way from the golf course through our fan experiences. And we really wanted to go to a leader in the sports industry, not only from a data perspective, but also from a fan experience perspective.
That's awesome. And we've worked on a ton of projects over the years, including some exciting ones we're debuting this weekend. But what were some of those earlier projects we worked on?
Yeah, the first one, when we first started the partnership, was really focusing on migrating from on-prem to the cloud and making sure that all of our applications ran serverless. That was a massive update, and it's paying dividends today as we look to continue our innovation. We also worked with you guys on Every Shot Live, which is done here for some of our big tournaments. And the focus of that is making sure that our fans have video feeds for every player, for every shot that they hit during a tournament.
I know we've got some really cool things we're announcing at the tournament this weekend. We're going to get into them in a minute here. What's the little preview that we can give the audience?
Yeah, because of all the great foundational work we've done with AWS, we're really able to move to focus on a lot of innovation. And one of those innovations is generative AI, using a bunch of AWS tools, including Bedrock. And we've done that to launch our AI shot commentary, which is something that we're really excited about, and we're going to go through today.
Perfect. I think we got a demo up here. Why don't we showcase it?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Welcome back to the live show. And you might notice we're joined by our first guest of the show today live from the PGA Tour Studios. And I think Florida. Is that right? Florida. We have Elaine Chase. And Elaine, welcome to the show. And maybe let's start by introducing who you are and what do you do at AWS?
Well, I'm going to make Todd, you and Nick very jealous because my job is the golf course. Like that's where I do my work. So I lead the global golf team at AWS. Very cool job. And what my team and I do is take the really hard problems that golf organizations have and use AWS technology to help them solve that. And I've had the privilege of working with PGA Tour for over 7 years now.
That's fantastic. And first off, we are incredibly jealous, especially because I don't know if you heard, Todd really needs to work on that golf game of his. But it sounds like we've got the right expert here. I loved getting the chance to film on site with y'all there, and I've been really excited to talk to you since then. You're the right expert for these kinds of questions. I know AWS and the PGA Tour have obviously partnered on a lot of stuff. Before we dive into all the new things, I thought it would be cool to review with our viewers what some of the stuff we've worked on previously is. So Trey mentioned a migration project. What was the background there? What did that involve?
So one of the most important migration projects we did with the tour is take 100 years of videos, so all of this rich data of traditions of golf, and migrate that into the cloud. So previously, these videos were on tapes, these cassette tapes.
What are those? I don't.
And for some of those, probably, I don't know if this is younger audience, like 8-tracks, if anyone even remembers that, but it's just these cassettes, rows and rows of them. And, if you think about a broadcast, you want to show a shot where maybe Rory just made at a tournament compared to what Jack Nicklaus did, years and years back. It wasn't really able to do that with these tapes that were just in these silos. So we took all those videos, we ingested into AWS. We took these piles and piles of cassettes and lit them on fire, toasted some marshmallows, and then built the workflows for the videos to go right into AWS. And today we have about 25 petabytes. I don't know if our audience knows what a petabyte is. Probably simplest form is 1 petabyte is about 20 million file cabinets. So line up 20 million file cabinets times 25, and that's what we ingested into AWS.
Dang, I also love how y'all combined the cloud with s'mores there. I appreciated that.
Yeah, petabyte is always something that's like hard for me to wrap my head around how much data that actually is. And every time I think of a petabyte, I think of some health conscious food. Like that's like your petabytes. That's but that's not what it is. We're talking about the cloud. And we have a lot of people in our chat who are very interested in the cloud. They're coming here to learn, which is very cool. So we helped the PGA Tour migrate some media, those old grainy, cool golf videos 100 years ago, which is very cool. But we have we started doing work with the data around the rounds themselves. Is that right, Elaine?
That's exactly right. So if you think about it kind of in the simplest form, AWS runs the infrastructure that PGA Tour runs its business on, candidly. So what we did was when they moved into about 3 years ago, this beautiful new global home headquarters, they didn't take any infrastructure, no servers, storage, networking, there's no data centers. All of that is in AWS.
Wow. And, I think that kind of leads perfectly into my next question, which was what Trey led into. So Every Shot Live was another big project we did in the early days of this partnership. I think I remember you saying it was something like the banner on the initial agreement or something. So what was Every Shot Live? Can you give us some background on that?
Yeah, Nick. So I think the North Star, maybe that was really, yes, the North Star. So that really drove our partnership. So if you think about the tour's vision around Every Shot Live, it's to show every single shot from any player, any tournament around the globe on the broadcast.
Wow.
That is extremely hard to do. If you think about, a typical tournament, there's about 30,000 shots. And today only about 7,000 to 8,000 are on the broadcast, except when we produce Every Shot Live. And so the tour did that recently in Ponte Vedra Beach a couple weeks ago. And they took 120 cameras and streamed everything from the very first tee shot to the last putt of the day, over 48 streams on ESPN Plus. And that all ran in AWS.
That's pretty amazing.
That is pretty cool. I know when I'm watching golf live, I'm watching the main group, but I'm constantly refreshing a page to see who's doing what and what's going on elsewhere in the course. And I'm really excited to kind of jump into this next segment and kind of see this in action. Shall we roll the next tape?
Let's do it.
Do it.
So Trey, it's become really clear to me from our conversations this week that the PGA Tour really is passionate about driving the game of golf forward. Seems like you guys are launching something new pretty much every season. So what makes the game of golf in general such a fertile breeding ground for all of this technical innovation we've seen in the last couple of years?
Yeah, golf is a really unique sport. It truly is a year-round sport, and every week we are playing at a different golf course all over the country and all over the world. And when you think about the golf course we're playing at, it's happening over 150 to 200 acres, and there's 156 players and 30,000 shots on a 4-day tournament. Yeah. And so that's a lot to cover. And what we want to do is for our fans, but also for our players, is to make sure we provide coverage for all of them and for every shot that's hit. And one of the things that's really interesting about golf, it's actually very non-linear. So when you think about traditional sport, it's a very linear from the start of the game to the end of the game. But for golf, the action of what's important for a fan could be happening on the 6th hole, or it could be happening on the 18th hole. You don't fully know. And so being able to provide context into every shot is really important.
Yeah, I think that alone was kind of such an aha moment for me, where it's, golf isn't just focusing on one field of play. It's focusing over an entire course. So there is so much that can be going on at one time. And I think from a fan perspective, one of the best things you have rolled out in recent years that's kind of helped me digest everything as I'm watching a tournament is Tourcast. So let's take a second and talk about that. What is Tourcast? How did it come about?
Yeah, Tourcast is something that we're really excited about. And we've done a lot of innovation in that space over the last couple of years. The original intention behind it was to make sure that we provide coverage for every one of our players at every shot that's hit. And so what we go and do is we create a 3D representation of the course, and then we do shot trials as players hit shots. And that's something that's been really cool for our fans, because they can go and watch the coverage live and watch as the players play through the course, but they can also look back at historicals. And our players use it as well, whether they're coming up to a tournament they played last year, they can review their round, they can review where they hit specific shots, or even directly after a round, they're able to go back and analyze how they played and make different strategy decisions for the next round after it.
That's awesome. I think we actually have a visual representation we should throw up on the screen now. Kind of walk me and our viewers here through what we're looking at. This is what Tourcast has been previously, right? So what are we looking at?
So here's our Tourcast product. Tourcast was born on the idea that we want to show every shot for every player. When you're watching the broadcast, you are able to see about 25% on a normal week. However, we know that fans want to follow their favorite players and see how they perform throughout their whole round and across the whole tournament. And so what we've developed is a 3D representation of the course that allows you to follow shot trails and get different types of data in order to keep tabs with your favorite player. This is also a great tool for our players to use, as they can go back and look at how other people are playing different holes, or they can look at how they performed in previous rounds or previous years.
Something you brought up that I hadn't realized was the thing was I love it as a fan, right? And I'm sure fan reception has been pretty solid to it overall, right? Because I get to follow my favorite player. I don't have to wait and hope that they come on the main broadcast. I can follow them throughout the tournament. I didn't realize players were also using this to kind of see how they can play the hole, what their previous shots have looked like. So that's really cool. It's for players and for fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're able to provide a lot of data to our players so that they can work on strategy decisions. They can look at what they did in previous rounds, but they can also look back into previous years in order to make different decisions and understand how different holes played.
That's pretty cool. Hey, we have somebody coming online now. Binary Online said it's amazing to see PGA Tour utilizing AWS cloud technology, and I couldn't agree more. And seeing every shot or the Tourcast live, Nick, I was surprised they didn't get you on there with some of your. It'd probably just be blue lines kind of going off screen there.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I don't actually have a good comeback for that. That's just true. But real quick before we dive into all of that, I don't know if y'all noticed the very subtle QR code that popped in. You're probably thinking, what's with that, right? Well, if you guys are liking the show so far, and we're going to get into some of the tech that we use with the PGA Tour to enable some of these different products, good, scan that QR code, try out some of the tech for yourself. But you can also be entered, if you follow that QR code, for a chance to win 2 free tickets to a future PGA Tour event. So, I mean, I would do it. I think it sounds pretty cool. PGA Tour events are a blast. So scan that code. You're going to see it pop up another 1 or 2 times during the show in case you missed it that time. But, keep your eyeballs out. Should be a fun time.
Yeah, I don't know if that excludes AWS employees. I certainly would.
Unfortunately, I think it does. Yeah.
Hey, Elaine, so we are a huge fan here on the show of origin stories. We want to know why something came about. Not just the tech is very cool. And of course, we always want to show the tech, but we want to understand what was the need? And then how did AWS address that need? So if you could walk us maybe through that with the PGA Tour, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the basic need that Tourcast really delivered on is if you watch golf on a broadcast, right? And it sounds like you guys are golf fans. You've watched the broadcast. And so if you have a favorite player that's not in the leader group or in the feature group, you don't get to see their shots or very much of their play. So that's really the problem that Tourcast solved. Now you can watch that player's shot the entire game. And so it served the fans, but it also helped the players. So one of the things that the players like is gathering information from Tourcast. So we had to lean in because originally the data source for Tourcast was in all these different storage systems. And I don't know about if you guys know this, but servers do not like to travel in trucks. And so we had, it's just a thing. They don't like it. The temperatures, PGA Tour is like a traveling circus, right? They go around every week. They're playing in different places. And originally the data source was like AS400s. For those that aren't that old, I don't even know if you guys know what that is, but it's an old server in these trucks. And so to really take Tourcast to the next level, we had to migrate all of that data into AWS.
Elaine, I think you might just be making up some of these old tech terms because we won't know what they are. But I'm sure somebody in our audience certainly does.
We've all been there, Todd. Yeah. But I think we have a question that actually was my next question. Let me see if I can get this username right. Aerosenin-FPS. We talked about, we came together. We decided that we wanted, as the next step of our partnership, to work on this system. What actually powers it? What's the technology behind it?
Yeah. So the beautiful thing, and I think this is what makes our relationship with the tour super special, is we don't pick a particular service. What the tour does is they come to us. They have a really hard problem to solve, and then we use our services as building blocks to address that. But Tourcast in particular, they use some of the technology that the digital team, and this is for Tourcast, it's across all of the PGA Tour's digital properties, their app, their website, the augmented reality, virtual reality. They use, and I'm going to throw an AWS acronym out there, as Amazon CDK. But I'll explain it. It's the cloud development framework that the tour uses. And really, this is a way to quickly provision cloud infrastructure. And because they have this standard framework, they're able to quickly do new things. They're going to come out with a player portal here recently. that's coming out over the next couple months. It's all built on the Amazon CDK.
Wow. And the other thing in talking to Trey and you, Elaine, the last couple of weeks is that what I love about this partnership is kind of the investment from both sides. And, there isn't any complacency. We designed this really cool Tourcast system, and we wanted to keep innovating, and that all culminated in the launch of a pretty cool new feature that we got to see live a few weeks ago. Why don't we roll the next clip?
Get your phones out.
Man, I absolutely, as a fan, love the Tourcast system. I love how it operates. And what I love even more is that the PGA Tour is always looking for new ways to continue innovating these things, right? So for Tourcast, I know we're launching some cool things this year, right? What was the logical next step for y'all in making it even better?
Yeah, at the PGA Tour, we're always looking to innovate, and through our partners at AWS, you guys also push us, and that's something that we're very grateful for. When we're thinking about our Tourcast product, it does a really good job displaying all the shots that happen on the course. However, what we wanted to do is take that to the next level and put more context around what's actually happening. And so what we did is we created AI text commentary, which allows you to not only understand what happened, but also understand what happened with the context around it. So that could be different stats about the current shot, or it could be stats about the next shot. And we believe that brings the next level to the experience, which not only says what happened, but what impact it has on the players round or the tournament as a whole.
Gotcha. So instead of me just being able to see like, oh, this shot went there, now I'm able to get commentary to go along with it, like a real broadcast, and also the context around what that shot might mean to that player or for the tournament overall. I think that's so cool. I think this will be a good spot. Can you show us what that looks like on the app? So we've seen what Tourcast used to look like. What's it look like with this new system?
This year, we wanted to take Tourcast to the next level and provide a cool experience for both our fans and our players. So we launched AI shot commentary in Tourcast. This is part of PGA Tour's Fan Forward initiative, which was announced last June. And we wanted to focus on bringing a greater integration of stats and data. And so what we did is we created this AI commentary for each shot that's hit on the course across a whole weekend, which is over 30,000 shots in a normal tournament. And the commentary is broken down into two key parts. The first part is the fact, which really talks about what happened on the shot. And the second part is the context, which gives you an understanding of why the shot mattered for an individual player or its impact on the round and tournament as a whole. This is really cool because it allows us to give fans context about what's happening on the current shot for that player, or also thinking about what the next shot's going to be or what impact the next shot could have. If you click this history button right here, you're able to see the shot commentaries for each of the players' shots on the whole, and allows you to catch up very quickly on your favorite players.
Wow. Okay. Love this new addition, right? There's so much to unpack here. Let's take a step back and kind of start from the beginning. Yep. When y'all decided, okay, we want to introduce this live commentary aspect, that's the next step we want to take in the evolution of this system, right? What were some of the things you wanted to make sure were included within that, and how did it come about? How did you make it work?
Yeah, I think when we were thinking about this product as a whole, we really wanted to focus on two things. Number one was the accuracy. We wanted to make sure that any stats or information we put out to our fans or our players was accurate. And that's the same way we want to do that across all of our digital platforms. Accuracy is extremely important for trust that we have with our fans and our players. In the LM space, that's a little different, and so we had to come up with some unique services and use AWS services as well to ensure that we were able to do that. The second part is we wanted to make sure that we were doing unique context to the shot, and that if we did context, we were able to provide a lot of value and have enough variety that it would be interesting and valuable to a fan or to a player who's consuming it.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the process of how this happens. So we're out on the course, a player hits a shot. How does it get to me as a fan on the app with all this live commentary? Walk me through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So the process starts with data being collected off the course. That's the first step and kind of the foundational part of everything we do at the tour, but also what you guys we do with AWS. We then take that and we have built a context service. And what that does is it looks at all the different stats that we have available around that shot or around that player or tournament, and we figure out what's important to that shot specifically. Okay. We then use Amazon Bedrock and a few different calls in order to generate the commentary. And then we created a data validation service, which goes and looks at what we've output from the LLMs and confirms that the stats and the information within it are correct.
Gotcha. And this happens, it comes out to me from the course to my phone on Tourcast in how long? How long does that take?
From the time the shots hit to the time the commentary is produced is about 10 seconds.
Wow. And it's not just for one hole or one section of the tournament, right, on the course. It's for the entire thing, right?
Yeah,
how many shots is that?
Yeah, so there's about 30,000 shots per week on a typical tour event. And so that is happening for every one of those shots.
Wow, the scale of that system is incredible to me. Also, I want to dive into this fact versus context thing. So this entire system is generated with generative AI, right? So how is it able to extrapolate this is a fact versus this is context for the fans or the players?
Yeah, we've set the system up to be able to kind of handle both of those things. The fact is really focused on telling the fan what happened. And then the context is really more about, why does that shot matter? What impact does it have on the players round of the tournament? And so we've been able to kind of custom build the system in a way that provides the most value to our fans. And because of AWS Bedrock and the flexibility that we have with it, we're able to customize that however we would like.
Okay. And again, since this is entirely generative AI through Amazon Bedrock, is there somebody still back here, like a real person QAing it, or do you just trust the system to do everything by itself now?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time building a QA system that allows us to validate the data information in the commentary. Over the last 6 months or so, we've actually been also manually QAing it to make sure not only our commentaries are correct, but also that our validation services work well. And so now as the system is put into production, as it is this week, and as it runs forward, those validation services will do all the accuracy checks that we need.
I am so excited to see this live in action. This is going to be the first weekend that it's debuting, correct?
Yep.
Can't wait to see it then. So I'm really excited about that. Let's go outside. I think we want to talk about some other things out there.
Sounds great.
30,000 shots in a given weekend being tracked through this thing. And fun fact, that's how many shots it takes Nick to get out of a bunker.
I mean,
plus or minus a few.
True. I got down to 20,000 the other weekend. I was real excited. Okay.
So we have questions coming in about the technology that drives this thing or how courses are working. And I promise MB Surfer, we're going to get to that really quickly. But before we get to that tech, again, I kind of want to know, how did we get from where we were to where we are with Tourcast and the new Bedrock features and the generative AI features? Again, what was that origin story that led to this sort of development and feature?
Yeah, so where this came from was we mentioned all this vast amount of data that the tour has. The problem that they were having was, how do they take all this data and get it to the fans in a way they can easily consume it when they want it, whether it's on their mobile device or wherever it is. And that's when generative AI really came into the scene. And so back in Q2 of 2023, we partnered with PGA Tour. We leveraged our Generative AI Innovation Center, which is these group of machine learning experts that sat down with the tour. We had plenty of ideation sessions, and we started using Bedrock. They started prototyping, using it, and then now they've built up these internal competencies where they go from idea into production, like these new features in Tourcast, like the new AI automated commentary, very quickly. So that we're adding, you just wait. I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but there's a lot more coming soon.
Oh, man. Well, that is an enticing thing for the audience to stay a little bit longer. And also, my producers keep yelling at me backstage here. Just a quick shout out, guys. If you are enjoying the content, we do air every Friday, generally at 12 p.m. Pacific time. See other use cases like this one. We dive into a lot of different tech from all over, sports use cases, normal tech use cases, just everyday mom and pop use cases. Come learn about the cloud with us every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Now let's get to that question from MB Surfer. First and foremost, he or she would like to know, are courses scanned or solely from GPS with the Tourcast system, or is it like a manual creation?
So yes, actually before a tournament, PGA Tour goes out, they have drones, they have all this mapping technology. They go out and map everything. And then they use this technology to capture the data off the course.
Gotcha. I should have known. The answer is always drones. All right. So let's get back to the live commentary bit. What's the tech that powers that? And especially, I'm really curious, how does it distinguish between the fact and context? Is that such like a minute thing? How did we get that to come about?
So the beauty of Bedrock is it gives you model choice, right? There's not just one model in there. So what we did was we worked with different models based upon the use case to be able to not only get the facts, but then be able to, like you said, Nick, get context out of that. And so as part of this learning, out of the box, these large language models, they don't know golf, right? So that's when we worked in partnership with PGA Tour and built this context kind of rules engine, if you will. And then as we keep doing more and more prompting, it just got more and more sophisticated. When we launched in production a couple of weeks ago, fully automated without human intervention, it got the stats and the context 95% of the time right. And so we're trying to get even better. If it didn't get it right, then it kicked it back and it just didn't publish it. And I'll tell you, one of the things we learned when it went into production that I think was a big of a surprise to PGA Tour as it was to us, we had been prototyping and didn't know the cost. Here's probably one of the best things. It costs 1 cent per shot to produce this. So over 4 days of tournaments, it's just a few $100s.
Wow. So Bedrock it's a penny for its thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. That was
That joke of the show. That's incredible, though.
Yeah, that's very cool. And like such a cool thing to see the idea come to life and work backwards from what they were, and then be a novel first application within the sports world. And earlier in the show, we had people saying, hey, this should be used for football. This should be used for baseball. Like this should be used across all of these different sports. And I can see that a future where that's possible. But I think we have one more clip, and I want to make sure I remind folks to get their phones out to scan a QR code that Nick mentioned earlier. But I think we should roll that clip and then start to wrap this thing up. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
So Trey, we've shown a lot of the technological innovation we've worked on together, but I realize now we've completely neglected to talk about this beautiful building. Can you tell us a little bit about the PGA Tour Studios we've been walking through all day?
Yeah, this is our new PGA Tour Studios building, which just opened 2 months ago in January 2025.
Wow, recently then.
Yeah, it's something we're super excited about. It's amazing to have it right here on our global home campus.
Yeah.
And it's allowing us to create a bunch of new content for different channels. So that could be social media, that could be our network partners, it could be our sponsors. And it's allowing to really ramp that up.
Awesome. So, I got to ask this, right? We've shown the technology we've been working on, we've demonstrated some of it, but overall, what has this partnership meant to the PGA Tour? Like, why AWS?
Yeah, AWS has been an amazing partner, not only on our foundational technology from the golf course to our digital platforms, but also from a perspective of being a great partner. It's a relationship where you guys push us to be better, especially on the innovation front, and we push you guys as well and kind of give feedback on some of the products in order to help you guys as well. And so it's something that is absolutely foundational to what we do on a day-to-day basis, and we're very happy to be partnered with you guys.
Yeah, it really is a true partnership. We push each other, basically. I love that. So we've been talking about the Gen AI. We've obviously demoed live commentary. I know we're always working on new projects with y'all, so can you give us a sneak peek into stuff we might be able to see as fans later this year?
Yeah, Gen AI is an area we're really excited about. I think what you've seen today is really our first step, at least with our fans into the space. There's a lot of areas that we want to continue to push, so stay tuned for more updates.
All right, I like the vagueness there.
Yeah.
All right, now, I think we've talked enough about the technology. I kind of want to see it in action. What do you say we go watch some golf?
Let's do it. It's island time.
I love that. All right.
Yeah, so cool to see that building. And Elaine, am I right if that's where you are right now?
It is. I hate to say this, but this is my office. I work out of this room right here. So I'm at PGA Tour Studios. I know. I live 5 minutes from here.
I have to work at PGA Tour Studios.
That's very cool. And Elaine, I want to mention, I've been assured by folks in the chat that an AS400 is in fact a real thing, and folks that are familiar with it. So I just want to shout that out. But hey, Nick, I didn't see that QR code. Are folks going to get another chance to scan this thing for a chance? Should we bring it up one more time? Last chance to scan this code for a chance to win tickets to a tour event this year. Of course, terms and conditions apply, but scan that. Oh, it went away.
My bad.
My bad. There we go. Here it comes. So scan this code and enter for a chance to win those 2 tickets. Elaine, thanks so much for being here and walking us through the story and the technology that the tour is using and the partnership with AWS. It's so cool to see that, and at such an elite like sports level. It's really fun for me, especially as a fan of golf.
Yeah, I want to ask one more thing, Elaine, if we can, before you leave. I asked Trey this. You heard him. He gave me a pretty vague answer, a little
elusive.
bit. Yeah. So, and it looks like we actually have real quick, I want to make sure we shout out the customers here. We had a viewer, maybe our producer can find it, asked, what are next steps or next projects we're potentially working on? It looks like they asked something about here we go. Andrew Grid Dynamics over on Twitch asked, are AWS and the tour exploring ways to personalize fan experience? Maybe what are some other projects we have in the pipeline? Are you able to give us a little bit of a preview?
I will give you more information than Trey did. Let's put it this way.
Not a high bar, but okay.
Our own insider here at AWS. Yeah.
So I'll talk about two things that are coming because I know we're short on time. One is what we launched with AI commentary is just narrative or text-based. We're working on audio. That's coming next. So we're taking both synthetic voice and also pre-recorded voice from some of their commentators. And then you're going to see not just the text, but actually speaking that's fully automated by generative AI. So that's coming. Wow. But going back to the question about personalization. So here's what's coming from that side. So one of the big announcements the last couple of weeks from PGA Tour Studios, where I'm at, is around the world feed. So the PGA Tour, the feed that they are producing, they are sharing with 44 international media partners. And so what we want to do is try to personalize and customize those feeds to the audience. And I'm talking about instantaneous language translation, talking about customized graphics based upon, the individual country. So we are working on that right now. And I think you'll see some interesting things even come out this year.
That is awesome. There you go. Definitely a better answer. And you know what? If everybody likes the show today, let us know in the chat, and if we want to maybe get Elaine back on later this year, maybe demo some of this stuff that she just mentioned. Let us know in the chat if you want to see Elaine come back on a future show, see another one of these follow-ups. And real quick, we got some people in the chat missed the QR code, Todd. So we're going to throw this back up here for another second. There we go, guys. But Elaine, thank you so much for joining us here. We really appreciate it. Do you have any other closing thoughts you want to leave our audience with?
I think that, my job doesn't suck, like I said. And I think that the beauty of it is, just shout out to the PGA Tour. We talk about at Amazon, like 90% of our roadmap is really driven by customers. Let me tell you, the PGA Tour has been driving our AI roadmap for years. And so I'm just really blessed to be able to be a part of it. And I'm along for the ride. So if you want me to come back later this year, I'm happy to talk about the things we're going to be, because believe me, we're going to come out with a lot more this year.
Well, I think the next show we should do from a course, maybe. And I think just provide fans a little bit more of an engaging experience.
Listen, Todd and I can really put the Tourcast system to the test.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
Sounds like Tour Championship, right? Tour Championship in August. Come on down. It'll be hot.
I mean, I think that's like a verbal contract, Todd. I think is what
those are ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it. And you know what, too? Just add it on. If you need volunteers for the voice for the Tourcast system, I think can't get more melodious than these two guys right here.
I don't know about
Great
that.
Candidates.
Hey, thanks for coming on, Elaine, and good luck with all your future work with the tour. This was a really cool show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd and Nick. Really my pleasure. Take care.
Man, Nick. I loved filming those. And guys, definitely drop in the chat if you want to see us come back maybe in August, see some of this new tech. We also had a bunch of comments, Todd, at the beginning. I don't know if you saw people saying we should do one of these shows with the NFL or the NHL, any of our other sports partners. We got y'all covered. We got some already in the pipeline, maybe F1 in a couple of months. You guys should see some cool use cases like this. If you have ideas for future segments, on the road segments like this, drop them in the chat. Our producers will collect them and we'll try to get as many done as we can.
That's right. And Nick is certainly the guy to talk to about that, running the AWS OnAir Sports Show for so long and getting deep into tech with AWS and all the different sports leagues. So I think that there's a ton of opportunities, a ton of cool stuff coming out in that space. And as a big, just generally a sports fan myself and a nerd, cloud computing nerd, see those two things converge. It starts to not feel like work. But you know what does feel like work, Nick? At least for you.
Great segue.
It does
what feels like work, Todd?
Reading thousands of survey results from our audience who are so gracious enough to fill out the survey and let us know what you think about the show. The first, 20 folks are going to get $20 in AWS credits.
With a builder ID. With a builder ID. We got to clarify that.
Yeah, that's right. We need your builder ID to be able to fill out the survey. But it won't be a penny for your thoughts. It's going to be $20 for your thoughts in AWS.
That's a great deal.
That's pretty cool. So let us know what you think, and let's give Nick some survey results to read over this weekend.
Absolutely. That's the perfect place to let me know what feature segments y'all want to see. F1, NHL, other customer use cases you see on the AWS partners page. Go ahead and let us know. And again, check out that QR code. I'm going to throw up one more time before we transition segments here. That is your chance to win 2 free tickets to a future PGA Tour event. The details are in the link. Go ahead and scan it and try AWS for free and maybe get a cool prize out of it.
Nick, you're going to have to let me know when the NHL comes on here. That's top 2 for me. Like PGA check, and then PGA Tour check, and then NHL. That's the other one.
Regular Happy Gilmore fan here.
Yeah, exactly. We've got more show here. That's not the only segment we're bringing to you. We're going to be talking about, we're getting into another segment here, another topic. And I think in this time we're talking about some pretty cool analytics engine, QuickSight, if you're familiar with that. So Nick, we've got another guest. Should we bring them on?
Let's roll the footage.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the show, Chris. How you doing?
Great, folks. Good to be with you. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm kind of bummed. I think I missed the memo about having a guitar in the background. I feel like I look a little bit lame here, but we're just gonna roll with it. Chris, before we get rolling into everything, can you give us an introduction to yourself and what you do for AWS?
Sure thing. So I'm Chris Elliott, a senior product manager working for Amazon Web Services, and I work on Amazon Q in QuickSight. So excited to talk to you about some of the capabilities that can bring to business intelligence through QuickSight. I can't claim to be a golfer, though. I'm with the putt-putt crew that I heard mentioned earlier. There's some nearby golf courses, but I don't see myself out there.
Hey, competitive putt-putt is gaining traction on YouTube. So if you're streaming from YouTube, stay streaming, but maybe go check out some competitive putt-putt. I've gone down a few rabbit holes myself on that.
People get intense with it. It's a good time.
So Chris, we're talking about Q in QuickSight, but before we get to some of the features of Q and how that works with QuickSight, maybe let's just start with QuickSight. What is QuickSight? What does it offer our customers, and how does it work as a part of AWS generally?
Sure. So QuickSight is a business intelligence platform offering from AWS that enables any organization of any size to make data-driven decisions at scale. So with QuickSight, you can connect to a multitude of data sources, including data in AWS like Redshift and Athena. You can build out your custom dashboards and pixel-perfect reports. You can also embed QuickSight dashboards and visualizations in your custom applications. And of course, we now integrate with Amazon Q to bring you natural language capabilities as well.
Wow. I've heard a lot about QuickSight. I'm a bit of a data nerd myself. I don't know if folks picked up on that from the last segment, but I'm also a bit of a visual learner. Chris, can you go ahead and share screen and kind of show us what QuickSight looks like just as that base? And then we can kind of jump in there for all this Q, the addition of Q.
Sure, sounds good. So let me hop over to my demo environment over here. We're looking at the QuickSight homepage.
Can you zoom in just a tad? Some
of us
no problem. More size than others.
How's that for
Todd's getting up there in age. Maybe one more.
That's why I'm looking at a TV. I'm broadcasting to a TV right now. It's like this.
He doesn't have lights in front of him, folks. That's just the light from his screen.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds good. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm looking at the QuickSight homepage here, but I'm actually going to show you, we have a publicly available embedded QuickSight environment that anyone who's watching the show today can go to. And so we'll hook you up with this link and you can go here and we actually fire up on the fly an embedded QuickSight environment where you can go to see all that QuickSight has to offer and really get your hands dirty on QuickSight. I'll start actually just by showing you a specific dashboard that we host there. So you can find this again on that Demo Central site. This is our SaaS sales example dashboard. And it really just shows the breadth of all the different things that you can do with QuickSight. So you can see that this is very information and visual rich dashboard. I have, an example company logo over here. I have some basic visualizations like KPIs showing my month-over-month sales, my month-over-month customer orders. I have a narrative sort of insight over here that's telling me about an anomaly detected in my sales. I have maybe some more classic charts like a donut chart over here, sales by industry. I have a table. I have a line chart here that's showing me a custom forecast of my sales over time, and the list goes on and on. So really, the things that you can do with your data inside of QuickSight are basically endless.
Yeah, that's really cool, Chris. And I've got a question for you. Before we get to my question, I want to get to one of our audience questions. And our Harvey78 wants to know, can you compare quickly QuickSight versus managed Grafana? How is QuickSight different?
Well, QuickSight is, again, there's really unique in sort of the breadth of capabilities that it allows you to do. And so it's not just about building out dashboards and reports where data consumers can come in and consume the data, in the way that you set up for them. It's also about the flexibility of building QuickSight into your own end applications. So I mentioned embedding. We'll talk a little bit about that more as well. And then the infusion of AI in business intelligence through Amazon Q for QuickSight.
Okay, very cool. So visualization, but this looks like it can get pretty complex really quickly with all the data that you're showing. So for typical QuickSight, how long does it take to get QuickSight kind of set up and running?
Yeah, anybody can get set up and running with QuickSight in a matter of minutes. You can sign up for an AWS account. You can bring in your data or connect to any data that you already have in AWS, and you can get going building visualizations very quickly. Or you can spend as much time as you need to create really pixel perfect, dashboards and reports for your precise needs, like we're looking at here.
Yeah, so a lot of controls to make sure you are displaying your data just right in the way that you intend to. Now, you said you can embed this as well. Can you just go a little bit deeper into like what options developers might have to embed this in applications they might be building?
Sure. Yeah. So what we're looking at here is an embedded dashboard. So we have this specific QuickSight dashboard embedded in a custom application that's publicly available. You can also embed just individual QuickSight visualizations. So if all I wanted to see was this month-over-month sales KPI at the top of my web app, I can embed just that. And then we also offer full QuickSight console embedding, sort of going the other way, so that I could come into an embedded application without having to sign into AWS and see the full range of capabilities that QuickSight has to offer.
Wow. I need to take a second and send an email to my manager being like, I've been doing this manually for way too long. And we had a tool this whole time that could do this for me. What has been going on here? I feel like I've been a part of some weird hazing here. This is so cool. And I love all the data it shows. Like I can think of 1,000 ways I would use this in the business settings that, we encounter every single day. So QuickSight's already a really powerful tool. Why did we keep, or how did we keep evolving it? And what does it look like now with this new Q integration aspect of it? Because this is already blowing my mind. So I can't really understand the next step here.
Sure. Well, with the advent of AI and large language models, we realized that there were ways that we could enable all kinds of users to get their work done in QuickSight using natural language and really accelerate those workflows. And that applies both to the analysts who will be building a dashboard like this. So you can use natural language as an analyst to go and create these visualizations and tweak them to meet your needs and then publish them out to your end users. And it also applies to data consumers who are going to be coming in just to view a dashboard like this. I don't actually know how it's created. I don't know how the sausage is made. I probably couldn't do it myself, but I have additional questions that go above and beyond what's shown here. And we now enable those users to ask those questions in natural language as well. So why don't I actually cut over to another dashboard that I have and show some of the Q capabilities?
I would love that.
Yeah, while you're doing that, let's get this chat involved here. What questions do you have about QuickSight? We're going to get into some generative AI. So keep those questions coming. We're going to keep asking, pegging Chris, and we're going to try to stump Chris on some deep QuickSight knowledge. But okay, so we're looking at a new dashboard. I know it's different because this one's black.
Yes, that's right. It changed.
Astute observation there, Todd. Thank you.
That's my work here.
So here I'm looking at a dashboard actually inside of the QuickSight shell. And let's pretend for a second that I'm a line of business manager here. Energy Snacks is my business. We sell, we're an online retailer of health conscious snacks. We don't sell petabytes, Todd, but we sell 5 other products across the globe. And
Nice.
we use QuickSight to measure, really the health and the current state of our business. So if you look here, I have a bunch of visualizations that are telling me about the contribution of sales and profit from each of my different products, product sales by country, product sales by month, and the list goes on. I can scroll down here. And this really, there's a lot of information here, and it really answers a lot of sort of the fundamental questions that I have about the current state of my business. Inevitably, though, I have questions that go above and beyond what's available here at a glance. So for example, this chart is showing me monthly product sales. What if I was more concerned with weekly product sales? Well, Amazon Q offers this Q&A capability right on top of dashboards that would allow me to answer that very quickly. So I can just say something like, what do weekly sales look like? And the Amazon Q engine is actually scanning all of the data that I see on that dashboard on the fly for me. It's interpreting my question, and it's just an easy way for me to get quick pivots of the data that was already available to me, but pivots that aren't available at a glance. So here, in response to my question, I sort of have this precise answer, total sales by week. This is exactly what I was looking for. But Amazon Q also grounds me in some other information. So I have total sales as a KPI. I have sales by country. I have a table of a bunch of different dimensions and metrics that I could deep dive on if I wanted to. And then I also have a natural language summary that helps pull out the key insights from these visualizations so I can see what's most important. And you can see that as I move through these here, it actually cites which visual these insights are coming from, so that I have some trust that this AI generated answer is correct.
All right, my middle school teachers would have loved that bit. But before we keep diving into it, we're getting a lot of one-word things in the chat here, Todd. We're getting some highs from Zayed Benz. We're getting some amazing from Aman Racing 95. When we get a lot of these highs, hellos, and interestings, people think we aren't actually live, Todd. So like to call that out. We are live. We are reading your comments right here on this screen. If you have questions for Chris and want to try to help us stump him, now's your chance. So go ahead.
Actually,
We've got a couple more minutes this demo.
I do see one question in here. I want to make sure Harvey78, a friend again, is back with another question. So does QuickSight enable anonymous internet users to view the dashboard without authentication? Or are there, I imagine there's some security's job 0 here at AWS. So I imagine there's something there.
Yeah, that's right. So we do offer 2 kinds of embedding. So you can have named user embedding where you actually are authenticating into an AWS identity, and also anonymous embedding like you're asking about. So you can embed a QuickSight dashboard like Demo Central that is publicly facing and anyone can go to it, and you don't have to have an AWS identity. So we do offer both.
Awesome. Okay, and we got another question from Yo-Yo. I'm not going to say the last part of your name there, my friend, but what software is this? We are in Amazon QuickSight, and we're showing how Q is being integrated in there now. And Blue Moon 80 says it's a very nice looking platform. So shout out to that team there. Right. But let's keep going in this demo, and hopefully we get some questions here as we dive into it, Chris.
Sure. So I showed you how I could take, basically the data available to me on this dashboard and ask a relatively simple sort of fact lookup type question. I had monthly product sales and I wanted to see weekly product sales. Simple enough. It's not available to me here, but Amazon Q and QuickSight can help me get it. But I inevitably have, more complex questions too that I might want to ask. So I'm looking at this, chart of products bought by country. And one thing that caught my eye, I know this business pretty well, and I see that the distribution of products that are purchased in APAC and specifically over here in Japan looks meaningfully different than it does in the UK and the US. And so I might want to dive into that, and see what's going on there. I also see other things, I might want to know why did this dip in Veggie Pop sales, which is my personal favorite of our products, like happened a couple of months ago. And Amazon Q can help me here too. But before we get into Amazon Q, how might I have done this prior to Amazon Q? And so for this first question here, this is something that I might be able to answer myself in a spreadsheet. So I can go here to menu options. I can export to CSV. When I do this, QuickSight is actually going to offer for me to continue my work in scenarios, which is a capability that I'm going to show you in just a second. But you see it also downloaded a CSV file for me right there. And so if we just take a look at that, basically I would have this data export from QuickSight. So I've got a bunch of data in here. I've got a bunch of columns. You can't see you see just a preview of the rows, but there's actually 20,000 rows in this data set. And now I'm going to have to go figure out how to sort of group this data together to get that outlook of product sales by product in Japan versus the rest of the world. Maybe something I could figure out on my own in a spreadsheet, but it's probably going to take me some time. That other question, when I was looking at Veggie Pop sales, why was there this decrease in sales? Now that's a much more complex question. Now we're talking about maybe some statistical modeling. I'm going to have to go off and get a ticket on my analyst backlog to help me answer that question. And she is going to go off and write some super complex SQL query that might look something like this. I have no idea what's going on here. It's going to take her quite a while to do it. Eventually she's going to come back with an answer. But based on the length of her backlog, I don't know exactly when I'm going to get that answer. And maybe my question, by the time it's answered, isn't really relevant anymore. Amazon Q can help me with both of these things. So let's dive in there. So from the same visualization, instead of export to CSV, I'm going to go to Explore Scenario. What QuickSight does here is it creates a new scenario for me. So now we're looking at the scenarios analysis canvas, and it's automatically importing the data from that visualization. So number of products bought by country is what I was just looking at. So it's going to import that data and take a snapshot of it so that we can do some manipulations in real time. It also pre-fills me with sort of a high-level starting prompt here. So what insights can you provide for the number of products bought by country? Now, Amazon Q, it's a natural language engine. So here I'm going to be, taking a bunch of back and forths with the system. It's not a chat bot in the way that you might think of ChatGPT, but I am interfacing with a large language model here. So Amazon Q, takes that starting prompt and it takes the data and then it comes up with a series of questions that I might want to ask about this data in service of pulling out novel insights from that data. And these suggestions really span a breadth of complexity. So for example, show the total quantity of products bought by country. Again, that's maybe something that I could do myself, but it would take me some time. All the way down to, hey, how would total product quantities change if sales of real fuel bars increased by 20%? So it's actually showing me that it can model out that what if scenario. What if sales of real fuel bars were 20% higher in all countries? Wow. So I actually know, we were talking about this before, that I had a question in mind that I came in with. So I don't have to start from any of those suggestions. I can ask my own thing. I'm just going to copy and paste it in there because I don't know about you guys, but I can't talk and type. I can talk and be animated with my hands, but I can't type.
Breathe and type. So
yeah, that's right. And then I'll click submit on this question. So compare the top 3 products bought in Japan versus other countries.
Hey Chris, while this is thinking and coming up with an answer, we have another question here in the chat. Karen P0399 wants to know, is there a tool within QuickSight that helps with cleaning or sorting of data?
Yeah, so we actually have a fairly robust set of data prep capabilities. So whether it's you're bringing in your own files or you are connecting to AWS data sources, you can create data sets off of those things, and then you can use natural language as an analyst to help you make sense, to help you create custom calculations and custom visualizations on top of that data right inside of QuickSight.
Very cool.
And we've got another one while it's loading here. Shout out from Don of Con, says that they are currently using your cost intelligence dashboard in QuickSight. So pretty cool
awesome.
Shout out there. Yeah.
Yes.
Hope you're enjoying the content, Don.
For sure. Would love to see what you can do with scenarios on top of the cost and usage data.
Yeah.
So this is still thinking about.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, looks like we got an answer from our prompt here.
Yeah, we did. And actually, so it's still loading up a little bit. I have this progress indicator on the top, and that's okay. We'll let it think. I can explain a little bit about what it's doing. But actually, another thought occurred to me while we were talking, which is that I know that last year, Energy Snacks launched a couple of new marketing campaigns to really drive sales of different products globally. And I just dragged in another data file here. So energy order details. I just brought this in as a CSV from my local machine, and this has some information about those marketing campaigns. I want to see if scenarios can join these 2 data sources so that I can see sort of the order details by campaign and then the impact of that on products bought by country. So I'm going to click this plus button here. And I'm actually going to refresh these suggestions. And you'll see that scenarios now is going to, it knows that I've brought in another data file. It can still see the initial prompts that I typed up here about pulling out insights related to products bought by country. But it can also now see a preview of this new data that I brought in. So I'm going to refresh those suggestions and see, if it can suggest anything to me that has to do with looking at the impact of the different marketing campaigns that I know that we ran. So just getting through the list, I can see, okay, which campaign IDs are associated with the highest quantities of products bought by country, which is pretty much exactly what I was after. So it does understand, the context of this new data that I brought in. I'm going to click on that. So I'm going to start from a suggestion this time, but there is one caveat. I actually know something specific about my data here, which is that there are some orders in here that weren't actually associated through with any single marketing campaign. So we have marketing campaign in here, but marketing campaign data in here, but it's not everyone buys our products through our marketing campaigns. So I'm actually going to add here, ignore campaign ID none. So basically, I just want to look at orders that actually came in through our campaigns, and I'll set that off thinking. So just an example of how I can give scenarios very specific sort of custom instructions to do analysis on my behalf. All right, while that's thinking, I can go ahead and back over here and talk a little bit about what's going on under the hood. So you see that scenarios answered my question here, and it actually gives me a pretty detailed breakdown about what it did. So it says, for example, step 1, separate the data into 2 groups, Japan and all other countries. So it understands, that it needs to do some custom manipulations on top of my data. And then it explains, exactly what it's doing. So really, scenarios takes my question. It comes up with a plan of steps that it thinks it's going to need to go through to precisely answer that question. And then it tells me what it does as it's going. So this isn't just like interacting with some, black box AI system where I upload a file, ask a question and get an answer and have no idea how it was generated. The system literally tells me as it goes exactly what it was doing. And so let's scroll down here a little bit. Okay, so calculate the total quantity sold for each product in Japan and in other countries. And then I can see it gives me 2 tables. So here I can see that in Japan, here are the top 5 selling products. We have Green Crunch, Grainfuls, Berry Bites. But then in the rest of the world, I have real fuel bars at the top, and then also Grainfuls and Green Crunch and Berry Bites. So there's some overlap here, but interestingly, the top product sold globally is the bottom product sold in Japan. And so I might want to ask, the scenarios engine here is giving me a couple of other visualizations to really bear that out. But I might want to see what we can do about that. So, what if we increase sales of real fuel bars in Japan? What if we had, I have marketing campaign data in here now. What if we had a marketing campaign that was specific to real fuel bars that could help us, achieve more success with that product in Japan? So
hey, Chris, just real quick.
Yes, please.
What you're talking about, I think, relates to a question that we just got into the chat, which is this trying to understand the why behind your data, getting the insight. And Anson999 wants to know, does it have diagnostic analytics capabilities? Like when you need sales drops, can it answer why the sale dropped, not just slicing and dicing?
Yeah, it can. And so I'm showing some of that here, but really the world's your oyster when you come into a scenario. I'm going through, a set of questions that I have in my mind, but you can be, very, very specific, or you can be very broad, with the questions that you ask in here. And certainly, it can model out those sort of, why or what if different kinds of scenarios.
And that's precisely what scenarios kind of help you do, understand the why behind your data. You see the result, and now you want to ask, okay, why is this? And you're starting to analyze and get deeper. And scenarios it can guide you along because it understands that data.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
That's right.
Cool.
And I want to say, Chris, too, we're getting the Oscar music a little bit from producers. So we've got maybe a couple minutes here. Just want to make sure we're able to wrap this up in a good place. We could keep going with this for forever. I love this demo. But
appreciate that. Let me I'll just show you one example of a follow-up question here and sort of what you can do. And then I can wrap up. Looking at this data actually inspired this follow-up question about what can we do to increase the sales of real fuel bars in Japan? And so I clicked that plus button at the top, and it created this side-by-side sort of, analysis that I'm doing where I can see the results of one question next to another. I can also continue my analysis by clicking the plus button down here. And then I'm going to ask a follow-up question here. So how would our profit margin change if we increase sales of real fuel bars in Japan by 10%? Now, when I ask this, this block of results has the context of everything that came before it. So it knew that up here I was asking about Japan versus the rest of the world. And then down here it knows, that I'm asking in the context of that, I have this follow-up question. So it allows me to carry through that analysis and sort of in a non-linear way, and just ask questions as they come up. And so I can zoom out here. There's a lot of information that Scenarios provides. Again, just visually rich, insight rich, and just a really easy way for you to interact with your data using natural language.
Yeah, this is great. The amount of output we got in this 10-minute demo, whereas beforehand I feel like this would take days. Like, this is truly unbelievable, and I want to make sure we get our customers. I think there is a free trial to try this tool out on the product page, right? So why don't we see if we can drop that link in the chat. And then, Chris, I want to give you last word here. What's the call to action that you want people to leave this segment with?
Yeah, please go check out QuickSight. So you do, as a new QuickSight customer, get a free trial. The Scenarios capability is available to pro users. That comes at an additional cost over a non-pro user, but it is included within the scope of your free trial. And so you can come in, like I showed, you can bring in data in the form of CSV files or Excel files. And so this does not have to be, if you're not already a QuickSight customer, you don't have to set up dashboards to get value from this. So please, go play around with it, and I'd love to see what folks do with it.
That's fantastic. Chris, thank you so much for the demo. It looks like the audience really enjoyed it. I know I did. I know we've got, one more. What is the LLM model behind that?
Sure. How does this work? So that's kind of goes to like, what's the underlying tech? How does it come together?
Yeah. So I can say, right now we don't support, I think the second part of that question was swapping out, bringing your own model. And we don't support that today because we actually do a lot of work to make sure that the prompt engineering that we own under the hood here is producing, results that are accurate and that would be expected by customers. And obviously the model, the behavior of different models can be very, very different and unpredictable. And so whenever we upgrade our models, we have to revisit some of that prompt engineering and make changes on our side. So we wouldn't want to just, it's not like a plug and play sort of experience here. But we are, the sort of story here is really culminates in a great better together story between Amazon QuickSight and Amazon Bedrock. So the other part of that question was, what is this all based on? And we do use large language models through Bedrock, and so have had to really deeply collaborate with that team to make this come to fruition. And it really is just a testament to AWS being able to use its own building blocks, and in this case, that would be Bedrock, to generate, custom applications of AI, in this case, scenarios, or Amazon Q.
Yeah, Chris, I love that. So for our audience that's listening, the same technology that is driving what you just saw, this deep analysis, is very cool visualization and the understanding of why, is available to you in Amazon Bedrock. But hey, Chris, I thought this was an awesome demo. I love seeing really cool dashboards and people. I'm always amazed that people can, like, I was just impressed that the one was black and the other one was not. like I always, the good visualization. I'm a sucker for a good visualization. So Chris, I appreciate you coming on and walking us through how Q makes that a little bit better.
My pleasure. I was actually thinking you guys should use scenarios on that survey data that you mentioned before. It can help you parse through those thousands of surveys.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Perfect. We should also eat our own dog food. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's
right.
Okay. Well, great to be with you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
All right, Todd, loved that demo. And it looks like we also still have a bunch of questions. Everybody, the ones that we weren't able to answer on the air, our producers are working backstage right now with some experts we have in studio to try to answer those for y'all in the chat. So don't get discouraged if you don't see it pop up. We're still trying to get answers for you. But speaking of questions, Todd, we have our next segment with our friends from Repost.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're going to say, like, so there's some questions. Our audience still has some questions, but that's exactly what our next segment, folks, are designed to help out. We actually have a place where you can go and ask those questions and get some answers. And that's called our Repost team. And we're with the Repost Live team. They're getting ready to come on.
Exactly. Mediocre minds think alike, Todd. Why don't we go ahead and roll the intro?
Where are we?
How you doing?
We on the internet?
We are. We're live on the internet.
Well, hello, internet. My name is Jay Bush. I'm a senior technical account manager based out of Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm joined here by the lovely Stephen Everin. Stephen?
Hey, Jay. Jay and I are contributors to Repost, AWS's knowledge sharing community. If you're not familiar with Repost, it offers valuable technical insights with questions and answers from our community and knowledge articles covering a wide range of customer use cases. As Jay was doing the shameless plug, as I was about to do, stealing my.
I have no shame. I have none.
So, we're hosts for that companion live stream, AWS Repost Live, a series dedicated to diving deep into topics directly from our Repost community. So if you want to be featured over on our show or engage with regular contributors, head over to repost.aws and get signed up there using your AWS account ID or your builder ID from the link in the chat.
And hey, if you're just joining us on the live stream today, I heard that we have some goodies. I believe there is a $20 AWS credit that you can get, and maybe you can start experimenting around with scenarios and QuickSight or some of this technology we're talking about. So hit that survey link.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely check out that survey link, get some credits. Let us know what you think and how we're doing here. So,
all right, let's dive in, Stephen. I know we got a few topics. We only got a little bit of time. Where do you want to start?
So if you're just joining us now on the live stream, we've been covering earlier the PGA Tour's use of Gen AI with its platform, and also QuickSight's visual analysis, which, but the first question we got up here is, I'll bring it up here on screen, is from user M, and they're looking to make your Bedrock chatbot sound more human-like. If you want to, if they want a chatbot to be engaging and fun to interact with. So it's a great example that was walked through earlier today with what the PGA is doing with their tour shot and bringing in that information, which is super cool. So it's a great example of how you can do the same thing with any chatbot that you want to create. But first, as we scroll down here, M puts in, really a lot of information here about what they're looking to do. And our repost user community, of course, comes in. We've got some great expert users throughout the community that love answering these questions and diving deep. And so we've got a suggestion here from two of our community members, and this is what you kind of get to, generating, more instructions, more prompts around this. So, Riku and Oleski, who we featured on the show before, kind of provide some of that answer there at the beginning of, where to get started, but dive in a little bit deeper into that. First, let us know in the chat, let us know what scenarios and things that you can think of to use the chat bots for, or to use Bedrock and AI to start doing that. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting choked up here talking about it.
It's emotional. It really is.
So, what you want to start out doing, I think, Jay, here is an audience. You want to build a prompt around that information, what you're really kind of talking about here. And we've got some articles, right, that we've done with the PGA Tour that go into details about that technology and kind of how that's building it together. You're working on that data, working on that live information that's coming through, and you're building that prompt up, right? You're taking that basic information that says, hey, that could just say Jay hit the ball 200 yards, which is not that exciting.
Which has never happened.
Never happened, right? Jay shanked the ball to the right yet again, right? So, but it could be better. It could be something like taking it and augmenting, adding in additional information, and say that Jay hit the ball 200 yards, and this is actually better than his average shot with a course like this, or he's playing in the style of, say, Jack Nicklaus. Probably not, though, right, Jay? I know that wouldn't be me. I'm definitely more of the putt course guy myself.
Yeah.
So you want to incorporate different sources of data, and then leverage things like SNS, Lambda, DynamoDB alongside Bedrock to kind of, and it's actually you can use multiple different LLM models to bring in and build that up and add nuance to all of that. And so with that, then, the cool part is they also maintaining that consistency, right? A lot of this is, being able to not hide that it's AI, but make the interaction feel natural and engaging. And so, different examples of this could be esports commentary, storytelling, language learning, right? The way you can use this and to use that to take that knowledge and that information and make it engaging. I mean, Jay, you have any ideas here about what you could do with this technology?
Yeah, my mind's running wild. I don't know. Tracking my kids would be cool. Practical use cases.
Locate, yeah, or tell my kid a bedtime story. I'm feeling a little tired tonight, right?
Anything. Marginal gains in the household.
Yeah.
Marginal gains.
And of course, the other piece of this is, I can't ever take my operational hat off, but you want to make sure that you put guardrails in place, making sure that you implement things like CloudWatch and monitoring to build those feedback loops and stuff to continually improve the model. It was impressive to hear them talk about 30,000 shots in a week, and the consistency and the accuracy that they have in building this models, which is fantastic. So I'm going to say thanks to user M for that great question.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have any questions, drop them in chat or head over to Repost, ask them there where our experts can dive in. But I think we've got we're going to jump topics now. on to something
Really
else,
quick.
right, Jay? Okay.
Let's blaze through Q and QuickSight. I know we covered this a little bit earlier in the show, and with scenarios going GA, I definitely just wanted to touch on a question that I found on repost. Tab over for me Pierre. So with scenarios going GA, just want to clarify, because there's a lot of questions out there about topics, scenarios, etc. When to use one, when to use the other. We got a question also live on air about what models are used behind this. So I kind of like to think of this as topics are a really good use case for kind of what did happen with your data, and scenarios are really better for what could or what will happen and why, right? And so I know our repost community out there kind of answered this question out there, but maybe use that mental model as you're kind of evaluating with scenarios being GA, how you can interact with these different Q components in QuickSight. I know the user mentioned also kind of what models used behind the scene, and we kind of addressed that, right? That as a managed experience, we really don't want you to kind of interact with that or have to, manage that experience. So really excited about scenarios in Q and QuickSight. Hope you guys can get some hands-on experience with scenarios now that it's GA.
Yep, definitely. Thanks for that question, and be sure to head over to repost.aws. Easy for me to say. Sign up using that account ID or builder ID. While you're there, follow our tag on Repost Live, so you can make sure that all of your questions hit a hole in one. I don't know. That was terrible.
We tried, but hey, subscribe. We always have good content. Until next time, happy building.
Happy building.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple extra minutes. I like to work up a mental sweat. What can I say?
I'll just get a few putts in while Jay and Steven were walking through. But thanks, Jay and Steven, for answering those questions live. And Nick, just to demonstrate how big of a hockey and golf nerd I am, this is my putting cover.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Goalie mask.
Love that.
It's funny too. I've been actually tracking shots. I've been hitting into a net with a little radar thing and tracking shots and my distance and all of these things. I can see in this this show today has inspired me maybe to take like some of my golf swings data as a CSV export. I have it all in this is a nerd I am. I have it all in like a S3 bucket, and then just run it through QuickSight and start getting some scenario analysis on my own game. And then once they give me Tourcast access, I'll start tracking.
Perfect. I've almost had the opposite reaction. I've come to realize from all the visuals that popped out there, I think it would just tell me to give up if I input all of my data. Like it knows a lost cause when it sees one. But the ability of QuickSight and Q to be able to generate all that so quickly, unbelievably cool to see. Obviously, all the PGA Tour stuff I thought was unbelievable. Guys, I'm going to give you one more little prompt here. If you want to take the survey, like I said, let us know. Do you like this show? Do you want to see future shows like it? Maybe get F1, NFL on for future customer use cases. What are some other customer use cases you want to see? Do you want to have Chris back and do some more QuickSight Q stuff? Because I loved that demo. This is your chance to let us know. And you know what? As a promise to y'all, I promise not to put it through. I will personally still read every single one of these. So go ahead, fill out the survey, and let us know what you think of the show.
Yeah, and let us know if you had a chance to enter and win those 2 free tour tickets on that QR code scan. I'm sure you can get to the product page there and find another way to enter. And so go sign up, enter a chance to win 2 free tickets to a PGA Tour event this year, and follow those rules and conditions, which unfortunately probably exclude me from the contest. But that's okay. I'll just catch it on Tourcast later.
Dang right. Well, everybody, without further ado, I think Todd and I both want to go analyze our shots on the driving range. So why don't we go ahead and roll credits, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you, everybody.